There are new laws in Florida designed to keep us safer on the roads. And today's Injuries Are Personal with Reynolds Law. Attorney Carl Reynolds is here to talk about some things we cannot do on our vehicles, and they're called motor crimes, and then the reasons behind them. Great to see you.
Great to see you, Stephanie.
All right, these are kind of interesting.
Right.
Let's start with one that, I mean, we should all know is illegal, so I like the fact that we're now increasing the penalties because it's a big deal. A driver cannot impersonate a law enforcement officer in any manner, including doctoring your car. So what all does that include? Well,
it's, you know, I've got three teenage drivers, one's 15, and all the rage now is mods, right, to your vehicle. No one wants a stock vehicle.
Short
right?
for modifications.
Yes,
it took me a minute. You're cooler than I am. I'm like, mod, what's a mod?
so, you know, and that's really all the rage now, but certain modifications are taboo, and one of those is anything that resembles a law enforcement officer. Now, it's against the law to impersonate an officer, and that's a separate crime, but
right.
you could be in violation of motor vehicle laws if you have any red and blue lights on your vehicle, anything like that. If you flash lights with an attempt to move someone over or to get them to move out of the way, anything that resembles law enforcement tasks, then you're going to be guilty of a moving violation and you're subject to stiff penalties for that. In addition, if you then go beyond that and get out and try to, I don't know, intimidate someone, then you're impersonating an officer there.
You have to watch what kind of modifications you make actually to the vehicle to make sure, because I know there's like train whistles and all sorts of things that have always had some, you know, gray areas. My son would call them gray areas. I would say, no, that's actually just against the law. There's really no gray area there. So this is sort of adding to that list.
Correct. Anything with, especially with the blue lights, the red lights, the combination of both, flashing lights, any sort of siren, any of those things are going to be subject to a moving violation under the law.
Okay. And then also with the cars, when it comes to license plates, I thought this was really interesting. There's a problem if people obscure their license plates.
Right. So there's also a popular modification to put some sort of film over your license plate, some sort of blackout reflector, things like that. The issue is it's difficult for law enforcement to determine what the license plate number is.
Which was the point of why people do it, I would assume.
I guess. I don't know. They think it's cool. You know, you black out kind of the side lights and everything. Maybe you black out the license plate. I don't know. You know, I've long since lost touch with what's cool and what's not, according to my children. But the other thing is when you go through toll roads, if they have a certain kind of block on it, then you can't capture the license plate. And now, law enforcement, what they're doing is they've passed a law so that there's recordings of license plates as they go through each intersection so that if a crime was perpetrated and they can identify the vehicle, or in something like a silver alert where we know where the last location of the vehicle was, you can kind of follow their route through those. Well, if the license plate can't be captured, you're not going to be able to follow those routes. So the law says that you can't hide your license plate, that it has to be in clear view. Remember, driving's a privilege, not a right, and if you obscure it in any way, then you're going to be subject to stiffer penalties. Up till now, there really hasn't been much penalties for that sort of thing. Now there will be.
Are they allowed to pull people over just for that? I looked for that answer, and I think yes.
I think it is a primary offense.
That's the word, primary.
Correct. And that's the same with the modifications with these lights and things like that. Before, they would actually have to engage in the act of pulling someone over or intimidating someone with the lights and using them. Now, if you just have it, kind of like window tint. If you have too dark window tint.
It's a big discussion in my house, that window tint.
That's another one, right? Another discussion for another day. My daughter's really pushing for me to get window tint on her little
They don't check, Dad.
Yeah. Well, it could be a primary offense, same thing with decibel levels. They may not always enforce them, but they also may, and you'd be subject now with this new law, stiffer penalties, more money, etc.
And a good reminder as to why we have those laws, too. I like what you pointed out, whether someone commits a crime with all the cameras that exist out in the world now, it is how we track down suspects, and good reason to not be allowed to do such a thing. So there's reasons behind all the laws, that's for sure. All right, for more information about any of your legal questions, you can find Carl and his team by going to injuriesarepersonal.com. We'll be right back.